Okay, now please listen here. So, what we were discussing was regarding the biotic factors. There are two different types of biotic factor, physical factors as well as chemical factors. Now, in this class, we will go to the biotic factors. Biotic means concerned with the living organisms like plants or animals. How this presence of plants or presence of other animals will be influencing the productivity of an aquacultural pond. So these are the points that will be mentioned in this area. Basically, if we look at the biotic factors in a water body, you can find that normally in every aquatic environment there are four different zones are there. And there is a bottom zone of submerged rooted aquatics, then zone of unattached submerged free floating, zone of free vegetation. I will show you a picture, then it will be very clear. So this is the normal view of a pond. Now in that pond we can find four different zones are normally present. The first zone is known by the name bottom zone. Bottom zone is this is the lowermost zone. This zone is known by the name bottom zone. Now in case of bottom zone we can see that mainly species of sulfur and bacteria, iron bacteria, blue-green algae, some flagellates and also some diatoms, also type of algae. These are the main type of organism that we can find at the floor of the pond. So that layer is known by the name bottom zone. So bottom zone is basically formed of sulfur bacteria, algae and flagellates. And because their role is basically are agents in decomposition. So whatever plants and animals which are dying will be settling at the bottom of the pond. There they will be undergoing decomposition or decay by the action of bacteria, and that will be finally settled down there. So that is the importance of the bottom zone. Bottom zone is basically or mainly a zone formed of bacteria and algae, and they are helping in the decomposition or decaying of the plant and animal matter. Now the second zone is the zone of submerged rooted aquatics. And now if you look at here, this is the water layer, and below the water layer we are finding this is the water layer, I think. Below the water layer we are finding some organism. They are known as the submerged plants, and many kinds of plants are living in the submerged portion of the pond. Mainly they include Vallisneria, Hydrilla and Otilla. These are the three main types of plants. You may be knowing about the Vallisneria. Vallisneria is a type of small aquatic plant. You can also see that this is the Vallisneria. Say this plant is known as the Vallisneria. Okay. Then another plant is known as Ottilia. Ottilia is also see, this is the Ottilia. Okay. You might have all seen this kind of plant. Then one more type of plant is there, that is Hydrilla. So Hydrilla because it is normally present in aquarium tanks. So Otilla and this is the Hydrilla. So these are the three different types of plants which are commonly present in the submerged area of the vegetation. So that is the second layer, mainly formed of Hydrilla, Otilla as well as Vallisneria. Now we go to the third zone, the zone of unattached, submerged, free-floating vegetation. Here there is an important, it is submerged rooted aquatics. Rooted means they will have a root, and their aquatics means living in water. So these plants, if you look at that, they are attached to the bottom of the pond. So that is why they are on a rooted aquatic plants. Now there are some organic plants which are do not attach to the bottom of the plant, and they will be present in this area simply floating or simply submerged below the water, but will not be attached to the bottom of the pond. And that is known as zone of unattached. Unattached means they do not have a root. They are not attached with the soil or bottom of the soil by any roots or other kinds of structures. So that is why they are zone of unattached. Submerged. Submerged means below the water, and free floating. They will be simply moving in the water. So this type of plants will be present in this region, and they will be moving with the flow of the water. So that is the third type of organism that we are finding, and mainly we can see that there are two types of plant species. One is Ceratophyllum and other one is Utricularia, which is present in this area. So I will show you how the Ceratophyllum plant is appearing. So this is the Ceratophyllum. So in this Ceratophyllum, their appearance, this plant is known as the Ceratophyllum. So they do not have a proper root system, and they will be, see here you can see, they will be simply floating in the water. They do not have a proper root by which it will be attached to the water body. So they will be floating in the middle layer of the water. Then the second type of plant that we are finding is Utricularia. Now in case of Utricularia also has a similar type of nature. They are also not attached to this bottom. Here you can see the Utricularia. This is the Utricularia, sometimes known as a bladderwort. So this is the Utricularia, you can see that. So in case of Utricularia also, they are not attached to the lower surface of the plant. They will be simply present in the middle layer of the pond. So this is the Utricularia. So this is the nature of the Utricularia, and so these are the two different types of plants which are present in the middle region, which are not attached with the bottom of the soil, bottom in the pond or in the soil. Now the fourth zone is known as zone of surface vegetation. Now if you look at the picture again, you can find that there are a number of plants which are present on the upper surface of the pond. And that is above the water level. Above the water level, water surface, we can find some plants are growing, and these are coming under the categories zone of surface vegetation. Surface means they are floating on the surface of the water. That is why we call it as surface vegetation. And mainly different types of vegetation will be there. Some may be microscopic, means we have to look through a microscope. Some may be bigger, so that we can see with our eyes itself. Some microphytoplanktons are there, or some macroscopic bigger planktons are there, but they all float on the surface of the plant or surface of the pond. So microplankton consists of algae such as microcystis. We cannot microcystis algae. See, I don't know if it is. So this is the microcystis algae. Their nature is something like this. So very small type. Then chlorella is there. See, this is the microcystis algae. Then I will show you how the chlorella will be appearing. Chlorella algae. See, this is the chlorella. This is another type of algae known as a chlorella. Then we have a number of other types. Euglena. Euglena, you are all familiar, because Euglena is an organism you have been studying for a long time. So Euglena, here this is how the Euglena is appearing. So Euglena may be an animal or a plant because it is capable of movement. That is why we place in between plants and animals, but it is green in color. So here you can see that. So that is the another plant which will be present here. So these are some of the microphytoplankton which are present in the upper surface. And similarly, we have larger plants such as Pistia. Pistia is also some plant which you might have seen. So this is the pistia. Okay, it's a very common type of seaweed. Then salvinia. Salvinia also I will show you. Salvinia is also a plant you may be familiar. So this is a salvinia. So pistia everybody knows. Then salvinia is a smaller type. Then we have one more type, that is wolfia. Wolfia is very small. So in case of wolfia is a very small type of, see this is a wolfia. See, very small plankton so if you take with your hand it will be appearing like very small type of plant. That is a wolfia. Then lemna is there. Lemna is there. So this is the lemna. So these are the major type of plants. Then azolla. Azolla also I will show you. The importance of azolla is that azolla is a plant important in nitrogen fixation. This is azolla. So these are the larger type of plants which will be surviving on the upper surface of the pond. So these are so when you describe the biotic factors, we have to tell about this different layer. You have to keep it in your mind this picture of the pond, and then you should explain what are the four layer: bottom layer, surface layer, layer of submerged rooted aquatic plant, as a layer of submerged unattached plant. These are the four different types of plants which are present in any aquatic ecosystem. So then another importance is regarding the importance of algae. Sometimes you may be getting in your question paper comment on the importance of an algae. Many question paper sometimes you can see that algae is playing a very important role in aquatic ecosystem, because in the first sentence if you read, a major difference between terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem is that the rooted plants are the major producers of terrestrial ecosystem and they are quite visible, while in an aquatic ecosystem minute plants are the main producers. The meaning of the sentence is that if you take a land area like a forest or a grassland, the main product, most of the food production, or what is most of the photosynthesis is actually carried out by plants with the roots. But coming to a aquatic ecosystem, most of the photosynthesis will be carried out by plants which do not have a proper root system. So that is the point which is mentioned here. So in an aquatic ecosystem, alga is the principal food producer. So in the absence of alga, no food will be produced in an aquatic ecosystem. So that is one of the important and point regarding the importance of algae. Then in abundance, phytoplankton gives water a green color. So you might have always noticed that whenever there is some kind of algae is there, the water body will be greenish in color. So that greenish color of the water body is mainly given by the presence of this algae, and otherwise we won't be, unless it is green, we may not be thinking that that water may be containing some amount of algae. So algae is all usually greenish in color. It is because of that green color we will be able to identify or distinguish presence of algae. Now in large deep ponds and lakes, as in the case of ocean, phytoplankton is much more important than rooted vegetation. For example, if you go to ocean, in case of ocean, it's a very large area, but very lot of large quantities of smaller microscopic algae will be there, and this algae will be playing a very important role in production of food in the ocean, and they are the principal source of food for many animals, including the blue whale. They are all feeding on small algae. So aquaculture ponds are fertilized using natural fertilizers such as cow dung or even chemical fertilizer. So coming to the importance of algae, the most important point in that area is that algae as the principal producer in an aquatic ecosystem. Then some of the cultured fishes can directly feed on algal pond, while some others depend on the zooplankton that develops in succession, and some organs of zooplankton occasionally occur, and there is a phenomenon known as swarms. Sometimes you can see that this swarm, a large level multiplication of zooplanktons will be taking place, and many often we can find that these zooplankton will be responsible for the death of many fish. So that is because this zooplankton will be releasing some poison or toxins into the water. So if large quantities of zooplankton are formed on the surface of the water, that is not good for the survival of the fish. That situation is known by the name planktonic swarms, and such swarms are due to the numerical increase of protozoans such as Diflugia, Brachionus, Caratella, Philinia, Pedalia. So different types are there. So that is the importance of swarms. Then another important point that you can say, carp spawn immediately after stocking needs a plentiful supply of natural food in the form of animal food. For example, when we are growing food, which okay, please. So the importance of carp is that they need a lot of natural food, because we can give artificial food just like the food that we are giving to our fish in the pond. That is artificial food. Any natural food means some kind of worms. Some kind of worms we can give the fish as a food. So that kind of natural food is needed by carp in large quantity. Otherwise, their growth will be very limited. So these are the some of the important points regarding the survival of fish in an aquacultural pond. Then one more point you can hear is that this is called algal blooms. This situation is known as algal blooms, a large scale multiplication of algae. And what happens here is that this is an uncontrolled multiplication. So normally once this algal bloom is taking place, after some time, after the formation of this algal blooms, what happens is that this algae will be taking most of the oxygen in the pond. Then most of the food, other food minerals and other food materials will be also absorbed by this. So after some time, because of the lack of oxygen or because of the lack of other important nutrients, this alga will die. Once this alga is dying, they will be undergoing decomposition or decay. Even though this green color appears very good in the beginning, this is a sign of imminent danger. That is, after this green color, there will be a stage of dark brown color. What happens? Once this green color is occupying, the entire the pond is covered with this green blanket, so that sunlight will not be going below the water, and most of the organism below the water will be dying due to the lack of sunlight, and this algae will be consuming most of the oxygen, and after that sometime they will be dying, and this death of the or dying or the decaying of this algae result in what happens is called large scale utilization of oxygen. So when they are growing, they will be consuming oxygen, but when they are dying, they will be consuming more oxygen. So as a result, what happens is that no more oxygen will be available for the growth of fish and other aquatic organisms, and they will also die. So this is the problem of what is called by the name algal blooms. Even though algal blooms appear quite safe in the beginning, it is actually creating lot of danger for the survival of the fish. So that's a problem of the algal blooms. Here you can find what are the different types of alga which are responsible for the formation of algal blooms. Here again, they mainly come under the chlorophysia, xanthophysia, almost all subfamilies of algae are actually responsible for this algal blooms. So the problem with algal bloom is that most of the time when we are using this fertilizer in the field, for example, we are applying fertilizer in our agricultural farms. During rainy season, this water will be reaching some ponds, and that water will be containing lot of superphosphate and urea. That is, a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus will be there. That will stimulate the growth of algae. So that is how this kind of situation is developing in Nepal, and that will be leading to death of the algae. After the death, there will be total utilization of oxygen, so that no more organism will be able to survive there. So this is the problem of that. Some here also you can find the case of algal bloom. So algal blooms are mostly common during the time of rainy season. So what we can do to control algal bloom, most of the time what we are doing is that we will be applying some kind of cow dung. Cow dung is a very easy solution. Cow dung can be applied so that the light penetration is affected. So one way by which we can control, because when we put a solution of mixed cow dung, that will be reducing the visibility, and that will be affecting the growth of the algae in that. Then some viruses may be helpful in controlling the algal bloom. Then we also use some kind of fish like silver carp. Silver carp is a very important fish in controlling algae. They will be feeding on this kind of algae, so that algae will not be multiplying beyond a certain level. So these are some of the important measures. Then we are also using copper sulfate. Copper sulfate 1 ppm, dissolving copper sulfate in cloth bags. Or we can also use sulfuric acid. So different techniques are there: application of copper sulfate, application of sulfuric acid, using cow dung, using virus, or using alga feeding fish. So all these measures will somehow the best method is always using silver carp, because they are feeding on that. So we are also getting rid of algae. At the same time, we are also getting some fish as food later. So this is an idea regarding the different type of biotic factors. In addition to that, and there are different types of insects are also growing in the fish. And these insects are Belostoma, Lithoceras, Nipa. These are the different types of insects which are growing in the aquatic ponds. And they are also responsible, contributing as an important biotic factor in the survival of the fish in a pond. So this is an idea regarding what are the different types of biotic and abiotic factors which are influencing it. And you can see that sometimes the algal blooms may be permanent. Then we call it as a permanent bloom. Sometimes it may be remaining only for a limited time. Then we call it as a temporary bloom. So this is regarding algal bloom and the importance of algae.